Hey, this is Passy from Passy's World of ICT, the guy with the white hat. Listen, we've been looking forward to bringing you this one for a while because we're going to have a photo button on our form and we can find the photos and add them on using like normal Windows kind of File Explorer type thing to do that. So let's just jump across to Access right now and show you what we do. Okay, so our application launches in Access and we get our splash screen from our previous lesson, and then we get the main menu here, all right? So this is our main menu. Remember, we do have a show ribbon button on it to show the ribbon if you need it, and then we can just hide the ribbon when we don't need it. But if we go into the members screen form by clicking here on the menu, that brings up our screen form, and Andy Akito has her photo. When we next though to Juanita Alvarez, she doesn't have a photo yet, but we've added this really neat photo button, and you just click on that and it goes to this new folder where all of our database objects are, and we can find Juanita just here and then say okay on her image, and in it goes and she's there. All right, and if we go forward and backwards, she stays there. You can do a save on the record just to make sure the record is saved. And we can go forward. Now, we don't have pictures for like Carrie-Anne Kibbles. So when you get the downloads for this lesson, there won't be pictures for everyone. All right, so there's Desiree Laporta. We've already put her in. Alicia McDonald. Nikki New doesn't have her photo, and we do have a photo there for Nikki New. So if you click on photo, we'll just find Nikki New's photo right there. Say okay, and in it goes. Save the record. Okay, we close this, and when we go back into it again, you can see those people we added, like Nikki New, they're all there, and that's all good. And we've got the same thing for the members dogs form. Now again, we don't have many photos we can give you due to copyright and that. So you can get your own picture of a Siberian Husky, just put it in the folder, and then you'll be able to click photo and add it on. So we don't have a picture for that, but right up near the end, for our boy Murphy, the Cocker Spaniel, we do have a photo there for that. So we click on the photo button here on Members Dogs, and we can go through. Now all the photos are in the one folder. There's Murphy right there, so let's click on him, and we can add him in and save this record, all right, and close that off. And that's all good. So this is a really great lesson. It's going to bring everything together and make it into a really easy application for Juanita to use. All she has to do is get member details and get them to give her a photo. She can copy that photo into the Dog Club folder where all the photos are, and then when she sets them up on a new members form, she can also add a photo for them very easily like we just saw. So let's get into it and show you what we need to do. All right, so as we just showed you, what we're going to learn in this lesson is we'll add a button onto the members and the dogs form so we can browse for the photo of the member. So when we need a photo of a member, initially we're going to set up so that this special photo comes up with a question mark saying we don't have a photo for them. Click on photo, we can find Juanita like we did, and then we can just single click on her and then click OK, and we've got her photo in there, all right? Now, some of the finer details, we're going to be using Windows File Dialog, the standard kind of Windows thing, but we're going to set it up with VBA code. And so it's just like using normal Windows Explorer. Now, some of the subtle things you may not have noticed is that we can set up our own title here. So we set this up, choose the picture you want to add to the Access form record. There's a file path which we can set up and make that, and VBA will capture the file code path to that picture that we select. It'll also get the file name, so it gets both the path and the file name using this VBA code. And we also have filters set up here so that it only shows the image files, because in here we've actually got the Access database file as well, but we've set up a filter so that we'll only see GIF, JPEG, PNG image types, all right? So that's all done in the code, which we'll show you way later in the lesson. The key thing is that we want to capture the file path and the picture, because remember the way we do the pictures back from the adding pictures lesson is that we actually just capture the link to the picture, all right? Then at runtime, the form actually uses uses the link to go out and get the picture. And it all happens so quickly, it looks like the picture was already in the database already. So obviously you need to have done adding images onto forms lessons, and the other ones where we've done VBA code, like the buttons ones, the buttons lesson. You need to have done all of those before you get to this lesson. Don't just find this on YouTube and just jump straight into it, all right? Unless you are already experienced in Access. So remember, we're a bit of a slow talker. So on that bar, the play bar for the video, you can click on this tools cog and go to playback speed and just make it 1.5 or 1.75 and the video will flow a lot better. Now this is a long lesson. There's a lot of detail in setting up something like this. So we've got a video index timeline in the description. So take breaks when you need to. So when you finished a section, just remember, oh, I finished that section, and later on you can just come back to the timeline index, all right, that's in the description, and just click on the next thing you need to watch. Or if you need to rewatch something, you can use the index to do that. All right, now for this training lesson, if you've been doing all of the lessons and you've got the one after we created form buttons and fixed up some bugs with them as well, you can use that one, but we've also got a photo button start database. So if you have not done all the lessons, you need to get this photo start database from the downloads. Now, it's very important for this lesson, you will need to actually get all the downloads because they include the VBA code for this lesson. So we're not giving you all the VBA code for free. Why? Because it took us a lot of time to research this and get it all working properly on the internet, trying to find bits and pieces of code here, there, and everywhere, and read lots of things about using the file kind of manager thing, linking it into Access. So we're not giving it away for free. We're not working completely for free, but look, it's less than $2 US to get. So get that and then you'll be set for the lesson, all right? Okay, now creating the splash screen, making a browse photo button. All right, I don't know why it's saying creating the splash screen, that's a mistake. But anyway, we're creating the photo button. Just ignore that heading. So we need to make a simple folder. There's a lot of steps here. First step, make a simple folder that we're going to put all our stuff in. We're going to put the database application in there and all the photos, all right? And we just do that using normal Windows File Explorer, just like making a new folder for anything once you're in Windows. And so we're going to do that. Then we're going to copy the Access Start database and all the member and dog images into this one folder, all right? So we need to do that. So when you get the downloads, you're going to take them all and put them into one specific folder. Then we load a new image, that question mark image that you saw, and there's one for the members and one for the dogs. That's going to show that we don't have an image yet for the member, all right? So that's the default kind of image which will always come up for any member, unless we've used the photo button to load one up for them. So then we're going to add that new photo button to the existing bank of buttons. So it's very important you've done the buttons lesson before this one. We're going to add the image location field. We're temporarily going to put that image location field onto the form, all right, so that when we click that button, it's going to be able to work out the image location when we pick a photo and put that into that field, and then that can be saved into the table permanently, into the members table. In VBA, we need to import the Microsoft Office object library. That gives us this file dialog, the standard kind of how you open a file in Windows sort of thing, and makes it available to VBA, so it'll be available to our Dog Club application. So we'll show you how to do that. We're going to write the VBA code for the photo button that customizes that file dialog window that pops up and also captures the image location, and then we'll test it out to verify that photos can be uploaded. Well, I've actually already shown you that in the demonstration and saved. And then we can make that image location form. Once we're sure it's working, we can just make that invisible so that in form view, the client won't see that, because there's no point in them seeing it. It's not data about the member, it's just internal information that the database is using. And finally, just to check that everything's still working okay, we're going to add a brand new member onto the database and add a photo for them, all right, just to prove that we haven't broken anything else while we've been making these changes. So this is a really long lesson. I'm thinking it's probably going to be about a 1 hour video, but we'll see how we go. Now, things you need to know before doing this lesson, it's best to clear at least the previous 2 courses. So adding images to forms, you need to have done that, and there's a link there to do it. And you need to have done adding buttons to forms, and there's a link there to do that, okay? So if you need to see all of our lessons for the Access Dog Club database course, Okay, well then go to the website Passy World of ICT, all one word, passyworldofict.com, and go to the MS Access SDC, Southern Dog Club. And if you scroll down on that page, you can see all of the lessons here and click to go to them, all right? So ideally, you've just been working through our course doing it. This one here where we added the images onto the screen forms, okay, without using a button, it was kind of the first step in this process. You must have done that lesson. That's vitally important. And the other one you must have done is to create the client form buttons, and also just how we fix the form buttons and some stuff about coding in Visual Basic Applications, VBA language. So you need to have done those two as well. All right, and this is the one we're on now, create an add photo button for the lesson, and we'll have a link to there in the next week or so. And then the final lesson to get this whole application finished and delivered to Juanita so she can use it for the dog club is this last one, getting the client ready database lesson. And we hope to get that out in the next 2 weeks and wrap up this whole Southern Dog Club course, which is going to teach you everything you need to know about developing your own application in Microsoft Access. Okay then, so things you need to know about the database startup. In the previous lessons, we've set the database up so there's no ribbon, and there's also no left-hand navigation pane. So when it starts up, there's that splash screen we saw, and then it comes to the main menu. But then remember how we showed you can click the show ribbon button down here at the bottom and the hide ribbon to make the ribbon appear when you need it. Now, to get those things down the left-hand side of list of all the components, use the F11 key, which is up the top of your computer. Now on ours, it's for something else when you just press it. It's for going between screens, I think. So you need to hold down this FN button, which is in the left-hand corner. So you hold down the FN button in the very left-hand corner, and this is the same on most laptops. And then while you've got that held down with one hand, you press the F11 key up the top, and that'll give you a list of components down the side if you need all of them. There is another way. You can double-click on your database in File Explorer and hold down the Shift key for about 5 seconds while it's loading up, and that should make it load up with the ribbon and the sidebar as well. All right, now the form view modes, you need to be very familiar with those, and if you've been doing our course, I'm sure you are familiar with them by now. There's the middle one, layout view. That's where we do most of our work, okay, in layout view. And when work is finished, what the client's going to see is they're only going to be looking at the database in form view, and we'll see that in the last lesson, of course, when we get the database finalized for Juanita. They just use form view. So when we're testing out and checking out things, how it's going to look to Juanita and other people when they use the database, the end user, the client, we use form view. And sometimes we have to go into design view, okay? Design view is quite technical, and it's easy to click and pick and mess things up in there. So we try and keep things simple and use layout view most of the time, but there are times when we will be using design view. You can also get to these different views. If you're on the home tab up the top here, there'll be a view, and you can just click this down arrow triangle and go to form view, layout view, or design view there. But we find it easiest just to go down the very bottom right hand corner of Access, and it shows on the bottom bar these three ones, and we find it easier just to go down the bottom right hand corner and click one of those quickly. Now make sure you're in form view whenever you're testing the forms, okay, because that's the end view that the client's going to see. Right, step one out of all those steps that we're going to do, I think there's about 10 of them, is to make the simple folder for the SDC, the Southern Dog Club application. So using normal Windows File Explorer, so just like we're making any folder, we suggest you make it on your C drive and then do new folder. So while you're on C drive, just right mouse click anywhere in here and go new folder, and we've just made ours called SDC. So we went to our C drive and we've just made it SDC, okay? And you may not be able to do that. Like if you're on an institution computer, if you're at work in some business, if you're a student at school, the C drive might be locked down to stop people messing up the configuration of Windows. And you might have to use a D drive or an E drive. You may even have to plug in your own USB storage or an external hard drive, and then whatever drive that comes up as in Windows, just make it that drive /SDC. All right, so just make an SDC folder on there at the top level. Later on in the VBA code, you will have to remember that yours is D:SDC or E:SDC or F:SDC instead of ours, which is going to be C:SDC. All right, so copy the database and images, all those things which you got from the lesson downloads. And if you're a student, your teacher or instructor may have already got these for you, so you don't have to pay for them, pay the less than $2 US to get them. Check with your instructor first because they might have them all. So copy them all in there, and there's the start databases in there and all the images. There's also a couple of Word documents not shown here that have the VBA code in them, but copy all of that stuff into that new SDC folder that you've made, all right? And that's going to get everything set up so it's simple and in the one folder, and so we can set up that when you click the photo button, it's just going to go to this one folder and only display the images because we're using that filter, and you'll be able to pick an image to put onto a form. So we need a new default image on the form, and that new default image is in the downloads. And remember that F11 key, hold down the FN key at the bottom left hand corner, press F11, and then this should show up with all of the access items, okay? And you could just double click on members here to open up the members form, but the best way to do it is we've got the main menu here. Just click on this guy here, members screen form, okay? And then you'll have the members screen form opening up. But before you do that, your ribbon may not be showing. So to get the ribbon showing, there's a show ribbon button here that you can make the ribbon show, because we are going to need the ribbon a lot to go into design tab and all these sorts of things. So get those set up. Show ribbon, make sure you press F11. That turns it on and off, by the way. If you press it twice, it'll disappear again. So make sure you got that. Then click on the members screen form and you can get the screen form open. And this one will disappear and get replaced by the screen form, but that's okay. That's the way we want it to work, because when you click this close button here, then it goes back to the main menu. So all of this was in previous lessons. So if you haven't done those and you're just using the database and wondering what the hell's going on, that's how it's set up. Everything always returns to the main menu when you click the close button on a form. Okay, now this new default image, make sure you're in layout view, that middle view. So go down the bottom top right, top left, top right hand corner, the bottom top right hand corner, and change it to layout view, the middle one. All right, click on the image box so that it is selected. Now you may have a picture in there, it may be empty at the moment, but you need to click on that picture box, that image box, so that it's selected, and it'll have this orange border around it when it is selected, okay? That orange sort of border tells you it is selected. Then click on the property sheet, so you need to be on the design tab on the ribbon, and then click on your property sheet, and then there's a format tab here, so make sure it's not on date or event, it needs to be on format, okay? And that's down there is where we got into layout view in step 1, okay? So step 3 is clicking on property sheet. This property sheet will open up. You need to be on the format tab, and the 4th step is that there will be a value here called picture, and it'll probably have andy.jpg in it at the moment, and that's the one we want to change. So you click on that, and when you click on that, what will happen is it'll change and you'll get the builder button, this dot, dot, dot. It has 3 dots on there, and then you can click on the button, and that's how we can navigate to where our picture is and get it in as a picture instead, all right, which we'll show you right now. So that button down here, you click on that triple dots button, okay, it's like that, and then what will happen is this will open up to insert a picture. In the pictures that are in the downloads, you'll have this no pick yet one, the one with the question mark, so you need to single click on that and then say okay. And this one will be located wherever you put your download. So for most people, it'll be in the SDC folder they made. So you need to make sure you navigate to that folder where you've got all your downloads first thing. All right, then you can single click on this one. That's the one you want. Then finally, click on OK. Now, if you're not seeing any pictures at all, you may need to change this filter over here. Maybe for some reason that it is not on graphics files at the moment. So if you're seeing no pictures at all and you're certain that you're in your downloads folder where you put the pictures, use this down arrow here to make sure it's set to graphics files, and then you should just see pictures in that box, all right? And that'll all be good. And what's going to happen is that when we change back to form view, it's going to show a question mark picture here on the first one, Andy Akito. Now, if you keep pressing the next button, just keep pressing that and test this out. And every member should have this question mark picture on there now, all right? So we've completed that step of setting the default image on the form. All right, take a break now if you need to, and because we have been going for 20 minutes, you might want to take a little break, and then you can just use the video index to where we've finished setting up new default image on the form, and go to the next thing in the video. Okay, the next thing is to add the new photo button. We need that photo button on the bank of buttons. So we need to add that to the existing bank of buttons. So at the moment, we've got these buttons on the form. So go into Layout View, click on this rectangular box that the buttons are actually sitting on top of. And when you mouse near the edge with your finger off the button, this double-ended black arrow should appear, and you can push down at that stage and hold your mouse down and stretch that box wider, because we need to stretch that wider to make room for another button. Okay, so that's the first step. Click on that box, that light pink colored box, so it is selected. Then move your mouse near the end with your finger off the button. You should get the double arrows. Push down on your button and hold it down and just stretch it across. You can stretch it forwards and backwards here until it looks like this, where we've got room for another button. Now we're going to move the existing buttons to make room for the new photo button. It's going to go in here somewhere. So if you hold down the Shift key, so keep that Shift key held down and go click, 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 all three of these buttons will come up in orange, okay? And then you can use your right-hand arrow key. If you drag them with your mouse pushed down, it's kind of all over the place. It's better to keep them in their straight line. So once you've done Shift, held down Shift and gone click, 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 just use your right-hand arrow key to kind of keep pushing that until they move across like that. And then we've got room in here for where our photo button is going to go. All right, now to actually make the new photo button, we're going to copy the existing save button. So you need to go into Design View to do this. So we were in Layout View down the bottom right hand corner. Make sure you clicked on Design View before we do the next step. All right, so in Design View, we can copy and paste the existing Save button to make the new photo button. Now, there's a couple of ways you can do it. You could click on this Save button here and just go Control-C, Control-V if you're happy with that kind of copy and paste, or click on this existing one and then right-click your mouse and pick Copy off the menu, and then just click on the pink area here in the space where it's going to go, and just right click and do paste. Either way, you get copy and paste here, and you should now have two save buttons because we made an extra one by copying and pasting. So move that button. If it comes a little bit out of line or something, just push down with the mouse and move it around so it's in a straight line like that. Then you need to sort of click once, click twice in it, and you'll be able to change the save to save photo, all right? So to get into editing the name of the button here, you just kind of click once on the button, click again, and it goes into this mode here. Then just click off anywhere when you're finished. So when we copied that save button to make this one, and we've now got it saying photo, which looks really nice, it has actually copied the behind the scenes save macro with the button. Now we don't want this photo button when you click it to do saving a record. We want it to do something else. So we need to remove that save macro from it. All right, so make sure you clicked on this and it's selected in orange. Then on your design tab, go to the property sheet to open up the property sheet. All right, and on the property sheet, what you'll see is on the event tab, so you need to be clicked on that button, then click on the event tab. It has an on-click event, okay, and it says embedded macro at the moment. Now that's for saving a record. We don't want that one. So you just click in here and you use your backspace key just to rub that out and make it disappear and be blank, all right? And then we'll no longer have that in there. And we also need to name this button. Now we're a bit lazy on the other ones. We didn't label this as CMD Save, which we probably should have, so that we know what all our buttons are. But we now click onto this All tab here, and up the top of it's got name. This one we're going to give a special name to because we need to reference this name in the VBA code we're going to write later on. So this is called CMD, little letters, and big L, load photo with no spaces. So it needs to be set up exactly like that. And all you do is just get on this one, edit it so it says CMD load photo, and that's done. That's completing the physical adding of the button onto the form. All right, so that's great. Now, the image location field, that's what we're going to actually capture when we use that photo button. We're not actually capturing the image, we're capturing its location so that Access can form a real-time link to the location and bring in the image whenever it's required. Now, we've got to get that location field onto the form temporarily so that we can make that happen and we can see what's going on as well and check that it's working. So how do we do that? well, we can change now back to layout view. So we can go out of design view, back to layout view. And on the design tab, you click the add existing field. So that's next to property sheet. Just click on this one, add existing fields. A field list will come up of the fields available for this form. And this will be all of the fields in the members table, and we want this image location. So you double click on member image location. You don't have to kind of drag it across onto the form or anything. Just double click on it and then it will go onto the form. Now the only problem is Windows annoyingly puts it onto the form right up this left hand corner on top of member ID code. So you have to grab this little plus sign, which you can hardly see. See how there's a kind of a north, south, east, west plus sign navigation thing here. You need to click on that. So you've got the label for the image location and its box, all right? And then once you got that, you can just drag them. So hold down your mouse button on this plus sign, push in your mouse button, hold it down, and drag that image location off that stupid place where Access put it and down into this gap here, all right? So it says member image location, and there's our box with the data's gonna go into. You can also get on the edges, get your double black arrows and stretch these to make these bigger and smaller if you need to, but that's the main thing, to drag it actually down here to this blank spot on the form. So we're now done with actually setting up that image location on the form. That step is completed. So all we need to do is just save what we've done, save our work. So up the top of the ribbon, there should be this little save button in the corner. Click on that save button, and then on the actual form screen, with those buttons we've got, there's a close button, all right, to close the form. So you just click on the close the form button, and if it says save changes, obviously you say yes, and that's all done. Now we've got the image location field on the form. Okay, so now we're ready to get into doing the VBA code that's going to run behind the scenes and make the magic happen. And we need to first off get this MS Office object library. So Access, this is kind of a plugin that's going to give us that file manager type navigation so we can get to our picture for the photo button, but we need to import this in and have this plugin in as part of the VBA that is connected to Access. So what we do is we open the members form, and we need to go to design view. So from your main menu, just open up that members form again, get into design view, click on the photo button so it's selected. So you click on that photo button so it's got orange around it, and then right click and choose build event. So you need to click on this photo button so it's got orange around it so it's selected. Then after you've selected it, right click and this big menu will come up, and we want the one at the top that is build event. So click on build event, right? That's our next step. And then it'll bring up this to choose builder. Now we won't need the code builder. So make sure you single click on the code builder so it's highlighted, then click the OK tab, all right? So the next step is change to design view, click on the photo button so it's selected, right click build event, code builder, then OK. And that will open up the VBA window on top of where Access is. So there's our Access sitting behind it. This is where you can write VBA code, which is going to get become part of our Access database. But we kind of open up as a separate kind of application on top of Access to do this work. Now, to get this MS Office object in there, you need to go Tools and then click on References. So up the top of this VBA screen that's got the blue bar at the top, Tools and References, and then there are a lot of available references. When you go hold on this, push down and hold on this and just scroll down, there are heaps, and there are so many of them, it's ridiculous. Now, they're in alphabetical order, so get down to the ones that are saying Microsoft, Microsoft, Microsoft. The one you need is Microsoft Office 16 Object Library. Now, yours may not say 16, depending on the version of Windows that you're running at the moment, but whatever this number in here is, it's the one that's Microsoft Office, some whole number, and then Object Library, right? That's the one you want. This might say 15, it might say 14, it might say 17, it might say 18, it might say 20. Doesn't matter, it's the one that's Microsoft Office Object Library. So choose that carefully, and when you click on it, it should put a tick in this box to tick it. So make sure you've clicked on it and that it is ticked, all right? And then we've got our Microsoft Office Object Library there, available for our application now as a plugin. So now you can click the OK button up here because we are done with that. And that's another step done. And we're getting really close to having that photo button working now. So if you need to take a break before the code, now would be a good time to do it. Just take a break and then come back, look in the video description at the video timeline index, and you'll be able to see an entry there that says adding the VBA code, and come back to the lesson at this point. All right, I think we're making good time on this actually. So adding the VBA code, this is the magic behind the scenes that's going to make the button work, the photo button work. So after we click OK for setting up references, Access will come back to this VBA coding screen. And because originally we were on the photo button when we went into all of this, Access has already set up the subroutine where we can put some code that's going to do some things when the photo button's clicked. So remember we named it CMD load photo. So it's very important you named it that, because that's what it's called here in the code as well. And this is saying when you click it, here we can put a whole set of instructions for Access to do, which is going to open up that little kind of familiar Windows File Explorer box where we can pick our image and then say OK. All right, so this is how all that magic's going to happen. So all of our code gets written in that gap right there. That's the only place we're working. Now there's all this other code there as well. Remember, that was from back when we did the buttons lesson. Like, this is the code that does the magic when you click on the next button. It makes it go to the next record. Make sure you don't go in and change any of this at all or touch it. We're only going to be working in this area here. And because we've given you the code from the downloads to try and make it safe and easy for you, all you need to do, as it says in the instructions in the Word document, that's the code that you need, you just need to highlight a certain section of that and just copy it out of Microsoft Word and paste it right into this spot right here where the cursor is ready and waiting for you. Okay, now we're not going to show you all the VBA code, but we'll show you some of it, all right? So here's with application file dialog. So that's why we had to have that Microsoft Office library imported, because file dialog is one of the items in that. And this bit here is going to say, okay, we're using file dialog. And this code here in VBA actually sets up some customized things for our dialog. So this line here, dot title equals, you know, we've said choose the picture you want to add to Access. So that's how this writing comes up in this bar. All right, there's no magic about that. We actually told it to do that using this VBA code, which for me, being a coder, is very exciting. Now, some of you don't like coding or you just haven't done it and you don't know it. That's okay. You can just use this to build the Access application without having to be fluent in coding it. Now, allow multi-select equals false. That means we don't want them to select more than one picture, okay? So you can have them select a whole lot of pictures for different things you're doing, but for this sort of thing, the photo button, we just want them one picture, so we set multi-select as false. The initial file name, remember how we set up that folder SDC, and that's why when this box opens up, because of this here, this line of code, that makes sure that Windows already goes to that folder we set up, the SDC folder, and opens that up so we only see that folder. We don't have to fiddle around trying to find it. Access will go straight there. Now remember, this is where we said if you've had to set yours up on a D drive or an E drive, or maybe you've got a plug-in external drive that's showing up in File Explorer as your F drive, you will need to change this to F double dots. You'll just need to change the C to an F in this code, right? So you get our code from the downloads, you're not working off the C drive, your whole thing's on the F drive, just change this to an F in here. That should be pretty simple. And this filters.clear here clears all the filters, and this is where we set up so it only shows JPEG, GIF, and PNG images, all right? JPEG, there is the normal one, and then there's this older one from, I think it was around in the 1980s or 70s. They started off as JPEG. But anyway, that'll set all that up so it only shows images in here. So even though you downloaded the Word doc with the code, when you open this up, it's not going to show the Word doc because it's only showing image files, all right? So we need to set that up. That's important as well. Now, there is a bit more code as well, so that you can actually work out what picture they picked and that they did click the open button, all right? Because if they click the cancel button, we just want to give a message, oh, no image has been selected. Now, there is code to do that, and that is in here, and there's explanation in there as well about how it works and what it does. But just spend, you know, less than $2 US to get the downloads and you'll have the full thing, okay? And maybe if some people do that, we'll get enough money so that we can buy a real cup of coffee, because at the moment we're only drinking water. But water's good, stay hydrated. Let's get on to the next thing. Understanding the VBA code. So the code is explained in the Word doc, so there's 2 pages of it there, which you get in the download, and you also get another one for when we're doing the dogs form. So this is where VBA code is, in that VBA that's part of Access. Now, with the code, as it says in the instructions, it's very important that underneath this highlighted yellow part, you push down your mouse and select this bit and all of that bit, okay, from the Word document, and stop before you get to this highlighted yellow. So it's this, and you can go across the page doing it down the page. It won't select the heading or anything. It'll just get this stuff. And then either right click, copy, or do Control C. Then make sure you go to this exact spot here very carefully, click in it, and then you can do your Control V or your right click and paste, whichever way you like to do copy and paste, and then all the code will be in there, and we should be good to go. So all we have to do is save this. Now there's a couple of ways. You can either click that save icon that's up the top of VBA once you've got the code in there, or you can go File, Save, that way. So you can go File, Save. It's probably easiest just to click that Save button. And then now we're finished with VBA and we're finished with the coding. We've saved our code. So to close down VBA, make sure you click this X up here on the blue bar, all right? There are some red X's here. Don't go clicking on them or changing anything down in here. Make sure you only click this X up in the top right-hand corner on the blue bar, all right? And that will be that. And you can also save your code using Control S if you like doing it that way. That works as well. But make sure you don't click these reddies. Click the blue X, the blue boy up the top. And that's it. So now we can test our Add Photo button. So on your members form, you can change over to form view, and we've got 6 pictures available here, which you get as part of the download. So that covers quite a few of the members. The other members there, we don't have pictures for, but you can get an image off Google Images and just use that as your picture if you want to make sure you've got pictures for everyone and no one's got a question mark. So for Andy Akito, for example, where it's showing a question mark, you can click on the photo button, and then this dialog will open up saying the exact same things and going to the exact right folder that we set up in the VBA code. So see, it's got names here, Akito Andy. So just check here, last name and first name, Akito Andy, definitely got the right person. Single click on that, then click your OK button, and then Andy's picture will go in here to replace the question mark button. And that's all good. All right, now, this is important. The link for the photo for Andy, that's what actually got saved. When we did all this business beforehand, it actually just captured this part. It was smart enough to figure out, okay, they're in the Windows File Explorer box. This is what they've actually picked, this particular picture here, and it's put it in that image location. And when we save this record, that's going to get saved into, remember, there's the members table that runs behind this form, which should make sense if you've done all our previous lessons. So we're only saving the location. So when you actually flick to a record, Access quickly finds the location from here and says, oh, I've got to go get that picture, gets that picture and puts it in this picture box. And that all happened so quickly, it just looks like the picture was just always just sitting there as part of the form. So yeah, kind of understand that we're not actually loading JPEG pictures into the database. They need to stay there in your folder. And if you deleted someone's picture in your Windows folder, then the link would not work and you won't get any picture here, all right? Now that's ugly having that on the form. So our last step is to just hide that so that in form view, when the user's adding members, changing their phone numbers, getting pictures for them with the photo button, they don't see any of this stuff, all right? That's just behind the scenes things. So it'll still be visible in design view and in layout view, but for the user who's using form view, we don't want it there, okay? So in layout view, go to that box and click on it so it's selected. So it's highlighted in orange there. That's how you know it's selected. And then we're going to make that image location invisible in the next step. Now it'll be invisible on this form when they're in form view, but it'll still be there in layout view and design view if you ever needed to go back and change anything with it later on. All right, so Because we've got that clicked and selected, go to the Design tab up the top, click on Property Sheet so your property sheet opens up. And there's a property here on the Format tab, so make sure you're on Format tab, and this visible property for that field down here. Just click on that visible property and there's a little down arrow here. You need to change it from yes, because it is visible at the moment and we can see it in all of its ugliness. Just change that to a no, all right? So this visible property needs to get changed to NO, no. And then what will happen is when you change back to form view and look at the form, when we look at members now, we don't see that image location, even though it's sitting there and it's actually being used to form the link to go and find the picture and bring it up into this box. We're not seeing any of that because we don't need to. We're just the end user and we don't need to know coding or any sorts of things like that at all. And use your previous and next buttons, just flick through all your members and you should see that this always stays blank. And that's good. We've made that location field invisible. So we just need to test the finished members form. And we've got a new record here to add for Paul Passy. And there's the guy with the white hat. So we'll give you a picture of the guy with the white hat. And so you need to go new, photo, and then at the end you need to hit the save button as well to save it. Okay, and that'll be done. So let's test that out with our database and make sure that we haven't broken anything. We can still do new, we can still do save. We'll try do delete actually after we've added it. So let's jump across to Access and do that now. End of wrapping up the lesson. So here's our thing. Let's go to members screen form. And what we're going to do is just click new, the new button here, so we can make a new member. Now remember, they have to have codes, and how you do the code is you just do their last name. So we're just going to use Passy001 for that, and the last name is Passy, and remember that's put in capital letters, but we put some special things in Access, so even if you type little letters, they go into big letters. That's worth looking at in our previous lessons. So it's worth doing the whole course. Now we don't want that in big letters. We want that just as normal. Paul Passy. Now the street, 248. Ooh, what's that sequence? 2 to the power of 1, 2 to the power of 2, 2 to the power of 3. That's binary, boys and girls. But only coders would know that. Don't worry about it. That's just kind of an in thing for the coders. 248 binary Avenue, and let's go to Mentone. That's a nice Bayside suburb of Melbourne. I don't know what Mentone's postcode is because I don't live there. I'll just say it's 3807. No idea what the real one is. Passy's mobile number. All right, I'm not going to give that out to anyone. I don't need any fan calls. So don't call this number. That's not my phone number. Email address. What would be a good email address would be hatguy@gmail.com. Again, don't email that address. That's not my real one. The real one for this if you go to our website, you'll find the real one to get in touch with us. And yeah, I'm a bit tight for money because people have not been buying enough of those downloads. So I don't have $60. So people are so tight, they won't even spend less than $2 US to get a download. And so I don't have anything to pay my fees. Stop whinging, Passy. Now, on the join date, remember we put this neat little thing that you can click on this box here and it brings up the date. So I'm joining up today, Saturday the 31st. So let's just click today and it puts it in there. And that's all great. So let's just save that, what we've done. Remember, image location is empty. We haven't done the image yet, all right? So it has been saved, all right? So that's all okay. But it was just giving us a reminder there to actually do a photo. So we need to click on our photo button and there it is, because we just copy and pasted that from the downloads into that folder. And we say, okay, then Passy's got his picture. So if we save him now, it doesn't give us that message that the thing's empty and we're all good. And that's it. So if we go to the next record and go backwards, we should see all the previous people. That's all working okay. And if we close this and go back into it, we should be able to find Passy here because he should have been saved into the table and his image location's been saved, and that's all good. So our whole thing's working really nicely there. And what you need to do is on this dogs form, we've also added a photo button so that we can add photos. Now, as we explained earlier, we don't have a lot of dog photos. You can just get them off Google Images. We cannot give them to you unless we took the picture. A friend of ours took that picture of her beautiful dog, D-Mac. but the real name of the dog's Coco. All right, so let's find Murphy. Here's Murphy here, all right? So, it looks like I've already put the picture in. All right, if we decided, that's not the right picture of Murphy, let's have Murphy suddenly turn into a German Shepherd. Oh, there he is. All right, so let's change it back. Photo, and there's Murphy there. That's the right picture. So we can save that. Everything's good. It's been saved successfully. We can close it. If we go back in there, we should be able to find little Murph. Where is he? Where are you, little Murph? I think you're up the end. There you are there. All right, that's all good. And if there is no picture at the moment, just puts a question mark. And you need to get a picture of a beagle. Okay, just get that off Google Images. Save it. Copy it into the SDC folder so that when you go photo, you could find your little beagle picture which you had saved in, and you can put that beagle picture in and save, and that'll all be good. All right, so play around with that. All right, so challenge task for you is to follow all those same sort of around 10 steps to get a photo button on this dog's form, which is in the downloads, and get that working. So you can put photos in of the German Shepherd, of Murphy, and I think we've got one other photo of DMAC that you can add in as well, but you can get your own photos of Google Images and do all that. Now, there is VBA code to use for the dog button lesson, but make sure when you name your button on the All tab, when you make that button by copying and pasting an existing button, that you call that button CMD dog photo, all right? Because this code is set up for the button being named CMD dog photo, so make sure you do that and you're very carefully. So as we said, we can't just go to Google Images and get you pictures of dogs because that's copyright violation, but you can do it yourself for your own education and training purposes as long as you don't try and distribute them and sell them to other people. So that's the lesson done, and we can save the database. So remember, up the very top of the screen where you're showing your ribbon, you can go File, the good old Save Database As an ACCDB, click Save As because you're not done yet, and then we suggest you call this one. Remember, it needs to go into that SDC folder where we're keeping our whole application now, so make sure you find that folder and save into there, and we're just calling it SDC photo button finished and saving it, and we're done. If you've been saving it along the way, just say yes to replacing it. And so we've done a lot of work in the course, and we're down in this section now, finalizing the application to make it client ready. So there we are, and we created the custom buttons on the forms. That was a whole nother lesson before this one. And now we've added these photo buttons so that we can just browse these photos really easily and get them added onto forms. So this is a great application for Juanita, and we've just got a few tidy up things to do to make it ready to install on her laptop so she can use it, and she'll be ready to go and very happy with our work. And if this was a real client, then we would get the final payment of the Doleros. So that would be nice too. So remember, our whole course is on MS Access SDC on PassyWorldOfICT.com. All one word. Anyway, just search for Passy's World of ICT in Google and you will find it, and click on this button here, MS Access SDC. And that's the end of this lesson. So Add Photo Loader to Form is done. And we hope you enjoyed this lesson. Give it a big thumbs up, like. And remember, subscribe to our channel so you see when that final lesson comes out about finalizing the database. And we've got lots of other lessons on our channel too. It's not just Access. We've got Microsoft Excel if you want to learn that for data analytics, of making graphs. We've got programming lessons for both Python and Visual Studio. We've got animating lessons in Adobe Animate. We've got Scratch lessons for our complete beginners. So check out the whole YouTube channel, and we'll see you in the next lesson.